Welcome back to Beacon of Speech. Hey, Ted,
Hey,
we're
Fred,
back.
we're back.
Can you believe we're doing another episode?
Oh, still on the air.
Yeah. When people don't know that you're on the air, it's easy to stay on the air. I learned that from pirate radio broadcasts in Minnesota. Um, Hello and welcome to Beacon of Speech. I'm Fred Hunt. That's Ted Coley across the table from me.
Hi there.
Again, every week we go through the same outline. First paragraph, what is Beacon of Speech about? It's selling freedom of speech to everyone. Today, I am not selling freedom of speech to anyone. I'm just going to bitch and moan, and you're going to react to it, and you're going to give me the movie review, and I'm going to cry on air. So that should be excellent radio. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, it should be interesting.
Let me do the free speech disclaimer. Free speech is under constant assault in America today. The problem is it's coming from two places that's very hard to find. On the left, political correctness, and on the right, corporations. The concept that we're all in this together is lost in America. America is supposed to lead by example, not force its will on other countries. What are limits to free speech? Pure evil. Evil is debatable. Pure evil is absolute. Did I say pure evil twice? Evil is debatable. Pure evil is absolute. Like it or not, a lot of the Constitution is based on vague Christian principles, blah, blah, blah. That's too boring. We're going to end the disclaimer.
We're going to jump right in.
We're going to jump right in. Number one, I was told by a nameless person that corporations are not evil this week. Okay, and corporations are what they are, and we need to not bite the hand that feeds. So,
now, is this the nameless person down the hall?
Yes, the nameless person down the hall. And you should not bite the hand that feeds. And we need to love your local corporation. Okay, so freedom of speech is under attack, and we have a lot of interesting things today. What we're going to do first is my example, and then we're going to go to you with the movie, and then we'll do my whole outline. So, corporations are not inherently evil. Okay? We can debate that. Okay, but I went on my computer earlier this week, and I went to CNN.com. Now, is there anything objectionable? We talk about CNN every single episode, right, Ted?
Right.
And that's my news. That's my news of choice when I'm online. Okay, when I'm reading, I prefer CNN. That's where I want to go. Right.
Now, do you watch any news on TV?
Oh yeah, well I watch local news, Fox 8. The local TV stations.
Okay, but you don't watch like national
No,
news?
no.
Or so
No.
do you watch CNN?
Yeah, I watch CNN once in a while.
Do you watch Fox?
No, never.
Okay.
Never. There's something about Fox that just rubs me the wrong way. But again, it's balanced out because I listen to right-wing radio. For some reason, I can't. I prefer reading left, listening right. That's just how it's not a hard and fast rule. And on the internet, like I said, I don't go to Fox News. I stay with CNN. But the point is that I was on CNN, and I worked at my glorious multinational corporation for 10 years, and I did not have internet access, even though we are in the realm of technology, right? So, of course, if you're in technology, you want to block internet access. Then when I finally get internet access after years and years of not being able to have it, and I get the basic stuff, I get CNN and, Cleveland.com and Google. I can reference stuff on Wikipedia, which is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I was on CNN, and one of the advertisements said, why Married with Children couldn't be made today. And that was one of the topics, right? Now, did you like Married with Children?
Yeah, I did.
I like Married with Children, too. But I'm like, why couldn't it be made today? Is this a good article, or is this a lame-ass article that I'm going to bitch about? So I clicked on the story, right? And you know what it said? It said, page blocked. Dear Fred Hunt. And then it has my login name. Access to, I guess the website was mandatory.com, is blocked according to the organizational security policy. This site has been categorized as tasteless.
Wow.
Wow.
So you were able to get on CNN.com.
Correct.
But once you clicked on the story,
right,
That's when it blocked you?
Yeah, it blocked the story as tasteless. So I'm glad that somebody was a. Now I tried to listen to the radio when I'm at work. We have a rock and roll break room in our work, but we're not allowed to listen to the radio or watch TV on it. Which is funny because it's one of the funniest things ever. We have a rock and roll break room. It's got records on the wall from the 60s and 70s. It's got an old Eagles poster. Well, it's the rock and roll break room.
Yeah.
Well, but you can't listen to the radio while
You
you're in
just
the rock
have
and
to
roll.
listen to the music in your mind.
Well, see, that's what we're doing here. We're the theater of the mind.
Man.
So in the rock and roll break room, we cannot listen to any media, but we can read. Okay, so I guess when they pay the newspaper subscription, they let it lapse, and then 3 months later they pay it. And
I
that's
think the
another
next
story.
time I'm in the rock and roll break room, I'm going to sit there with headphones on, plugged into nothing.
Yeah, you just have the headphones, and they're sitting on the table, and
I'll
you're
be
like,
bobbing my head.
yeah, I'm imagining the Eagles in this 1977 tour because they broke up in '79, right? In '77, the Eagles would have been red hot. They would have been filling the Rose Bowl and stuff, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the Eagles poster in our and I'm not exaggerating. Yet there's a big Eagles poster in our break room, right? Right. That's the one with the concert, right? It's on the far wall.
Yeah, that's the Eagles. You know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna plug the jack like into the wall.
And just make a hole in the wall. But anyhow, so in the past, I've tried to go to ESPN. It doesn't let me. It says no streaming media. I've tried to go to ESPN Cleveland so I can listen while I'm doing the road program, the RoadNet program that we stole from UPS, and I can't listen to anything. Right? So I can't listen to anything. I can't watch anything. And I'm like, I understand that you have, well, what would happen if they let everybody do it? Nobody would do any work. Okay, well, that's fine. If people are going to be online all day, that's why you have managers and that's why you fire people. Right? But
they don't want us to be entertained during our break. They want us to just sit there quietly and think about what we've done.
Yeah. Think about all the things you have done, Ted Coley. Yes, we are all bad children.
It's like a timeout.
But so, as I'm reading this, I'm like, well, you know what? That's their right to block whatever. And don't get me wrong, it's fine. But at the end of the day, do you really need to block A, B, C, D? Do you really have a list of things you block? Now, I understand if you block internet porn. You can't be surfing the internet for porn. And,
Watch, that's probably one of the things that they didn't block.
Well, yeah, because... Well, yeah, one of these days I think we're going to go on and see what is blocked and what's not blocked. I'll be like, hey, the porn's not blocked. Listen, look at this. Let's print some of this up. But I'm like, it's all, even it's degrees of restrictions of freedom of speech. Now, they're like, well, your job is to do backup tapes, right? Well, okay, well, what about my breaks? Well, we don't pay you to surf the web on your break. Oh, okay, well, what do you want me to do on my break? We want you to, like you said, we want you to sit quietly in a timeout and think of what you've done. And, we don't want you to talk on the phone, but we want you to call customers. We don't want you to, do that. Everything is a contradiction, and everything is a restriction on...
They want you to call the customers before you get there, but not while you're driving.
Yeah, not while you're driving, because that would be illegal, because all the cities are outlawing it. But in the notes, it says, please call your customer. Well, we want you to call the customer. Well, this service note says we want you to call 10 minutes before you get there. Well, 10 minutes before, do you want me to pull in the McDonald's parking lot and just call from McDonald's? So everything's a contradiction. And when this person said...
And if you wait until you get there to call from the parking lot, what good is that?
Yeah.
Because you're there.
You're there. I might as well just walk in. I'm going to be walking in anyhow. So that's why when this person said, we don't restrict your speech, it's comical. It's laughable. And Ted, you've known me a long time. I say things that shouldn't be said. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
every day.
But when you place arbitrary restrictions and then you say we don't restrict, it's amazing. And it goes back to the foundation of the show. I want to be able to say whatever I want. Now, I shouldn't come on the thing and say the F word 175 times. Well, that's just not good webcasting. you have to have some sort of point, right?
Yeah.
And and again, if there's kids in here, you don't want to talk about orgies or something, right? Or animal cruelty. You should have some sort of filter. And sometimes my filter doesn't go up. My filter is kind of arbitrary. Sometimes it sticks, and
Hmm.
I forget who's in the room. And that's just a matter of being a smart, responsible adult, right?
Hmm.
But when I got this thing, and the word this site has been categorized as tasteless. Well, tasteless is arbitrary. It's arbitrary.
Now, have you ever gotten that before?
No, no. Every other time I've ever gotten it, because like I said, I know better than go on porn sites. Even I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, even I am not that dense. Okay, usually it says gambling, because sometimes I go on OhioLottery.com and I want to know if I'm going to stay at work that day,
Hmm.
right? And I said, well, what if I won? I'm going home. And I try and go on OhioLottery.com. It says gaming. I'm like, oh, so gaming is blocked, okay? And then also blocked is streaming, so you can't listen to the radio while you do your job.
Hmm.
And ESPN, of course, you can stream ESPN radio nationally, locally, the whole 9 yards there. So yeah, you've got like you're thinking of something that you have a question
Yeah.
for me.
No, no, I really don't.
So, but instead of examples like I usually do, I'm going to pick on my own company, and I'm not saying it's not their right. Okay, just don't turn around and tell me that you don't do it. Okay, don't turn around and tell you, oh no, we're the communication company. We're the company that. What is it that they always say? We want candor.
Yeah.
We want candor. If I had candor, I would have been out of here 10 years ago. Okay? And even when I use candor and I get my little spasms that I have, I still block out half the candor that I should have. I'm like, so I don't want to hear about, oh, we're this, we're that.
Well, they want, how would they put it? They want respectful honesty, or because candor is
No.
basically honesty, right?
They only want candor when it comes down to what they say,
Mm.
or if it comes down to, hey, Bill is stealing money. Holy cow, we have to have candor. We can't have Bill stealing money. We need a rap fake up here telling us that Bill's stealing money. So candor is not a two-way street. It's candor when it is convenient for them.
Hmm.
And again, welcome to America. And I'm sorry to open the show with this, but again, for years and years and years, it's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's a one-way candor street. It's a one-way freedom of speech. Oh, you have freedom of speech, whatever you say. Well, if you say it, you're going to get fired. Oh, well, what about if, we wanted to know about that guy who was, hiding tapes in the wall or whatever, right? And it's like, well, I learned not to say anything because you scared the crap out of me. They told me not to say anything. And I was just so mad when that guy told me that they don't restrict anything we say. Now, don't get me wrong, they pay you and me. You know what I mean? And I always joke around with you. Pretty
Now,
soon,
when you say that guy, is it the guy?
Yeah. yeah. So I understand if they want to pay me X amount of dollars a year, and they say you're not going to talk anymore, and you're going to come in and you're going to hop on your left leg, no more using your right leg, okay? And then you're not gonna wear shirts anymore. You're only gonna wear sweaters or some other cockamamie, piss and bull story, right? Um, that's their prerogative. But don't turn around and then tell me that oh well, it's not mandatory. It's a bunch of crap. I'm sorry, Ted. You're just laughing at me. I just threw because I'm gonna shred this. As soon as we're done, I'm gonna shred this. I am not saving this one for posterity. So, and this is. Let me look. I want to aim to be done by this many. I'm writing
Okay.
a thing. So I'm writing coded messages to Ted. Again, it's excellent radio.
Hmm.
So like I said, I did not do that much I got a lot of sports today. I got a lot of entertainment. Okay. But I am selfish. I am going to be a selfish person, Ted. Okay. Last year in the fall, I made a movie called Blasphemers. And you can watch Blasphemers for free at blasphemersthemovie.com. Right? and it's going to be up for 1 year. It's already paid, so it's free. All you have to do is go Blasphemers movie, hit play, and you can watch it. Okay, now I tried to get people to watch it. I tried to get people to review it. Ted, we basically been trying to twist people's arms to watch it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And even people who would say, if you say your movie sucks, I hate you because you stole 1 hour of my life. That's fair. I'll take that criticism, right? But like we can't even get people to acknowledge that it exists,
Mhm.
right? So we have a friend that we work with, and he has a friend or a relative at the Cleveland Film Commission. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I don't know if he wants to be named.
So I would say let's
off.
not.
So we'll leave his name off because, it was very nice. But we got a review for our movie. And this is the first review. Now, before you even read the review, and again, you have it. I don't have it. I haven't seen it yet. And that's why I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm going to not be able to finish. That's why everything is very light today. I wanted to make sure I talked about corporate restrictions and then everything else is light in case I can't focus after you tell me my first review and I start to cry.
Mhm.
So anyhow, so the movie. Go ahead and you can start where you want to.
Okay. Dear people of blasphemers,
Dear people of blasphemers.
people of Earth, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to review your movie. Normally when I review something, I like to give you 3 good things about the movie and then 3 not so good things. So here's my critique. Now, do you want the good things? Or
No, do bad things first.
Bad things first?
Because I more or less know what the bad things are, but if I'm surprised, I don't want to be caught off guard.
You
So go ahead.
do want the bad things.
Do the bad things first.
Okay. The storyline lacks some continuity. There was a thread that was missing and I can't seem to put my finger on it. Maybe there should have been some activity outside of the indoor soccer field that would have allowed me to learn more about the events and get a better feel for the storyline.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
Now, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, he is absolutely right. Basically what happened is we had 156 pages of script, and as the first week went, I'm like, we are going to have some problems, and basically 40 pages of the script was left out of the final shoot, including almost everything outside of the soccer facility.
Yeah.
Now, you know that because you
Yeah.
know some of the lines, and you read the 150-page script.
Yeah.
And basically what had happened, and that's a fair criticism, because I left too much of the script out. And basically, and this is what I want to make sure I responded to, we had a lead actor, and I'm going to throw him under the bus because he screwed me. His name's Lewis. And 2 days before we shot, he said, his words were, "I'm not feeling it."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Thanks, but no thanks." What do you mean, thanks, but no thanks? Right? So at that point, 2 days before the first day of shooting, we already had the equipment rented. We already had the indoor soccer facility booked. We already had all the people on board. Everything was already done. And he said he was going to pass after he already said he was in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was cutting parts of the script out because I had to basically be director and the star.
Yeah.
And in my defense, now, if Joe was here, and again, Joe the empty chair is not here. You see the empty chair, wave to Joe the empty chair. Okay. He stepped up. He took more lines. You took more lines, right? Now, I thought Lewis was perfect leading man material. Ladies love him. Guys want to be him. I thought he was
Could have been like a Johnny Depp or.
Well, in my mind, he's a cross between Dave Navarro and Brad Pitt. Okay, and I'm like, he would have been perfect. Now, I know he flakes out once in a while, okay, but it was worth it because he is a leading man and I am not. Okay, and you could see it from the movie, right? So if I had a big pile of money and I get to do Blasphemers 2, the first thing I fix is I say, "Lewis, come do Blasphemers 2, and I will pay you money, and if you screw me again, I will see you in court for breach of contract."
So even though you feel like he screwed you on the first movie,
Yes.
you would be willing to give him another chance.
Well, let me rephrase that. It depends. Okay.
So he's sort of like LeBron James.
Yeah. Yeah. He's my LeBron James.
Okay.
You were exactly right because.
Remember when LeBron James left?
Yeah.
I
that
hate
was.
you.
Yeah.
You know,
Screw you.
Then as soon as he comes back, it's like nothing happened.
Yeah. And here's my quandary right here. Okay. Now I was the leading man. I should not have been the leading man. I cannot carry a movie. Okay. I
wasn't laughing at that. I was laughing at the LeBron James.
Oh no, that's fine. In my head, I would ask somebody else to do it, right? And if I could get any movie star I could. Have you ever seen the TV show Reaper? It was only on for 2 seasons. It was on like the CW about 6 years ago.
No, I never saw that.
In my head, the perfect person to be in Blasphemers was that kid from the show Reaper. He's been in a couple other horrible shows. He was in the series Grounded for Life. He was Lily's boyfriend. In my head, he was the perfect lead.
What's his name?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If I saw it, I would know it. But I'm like, well, who am I? He's not going to come out and do this for nothing. So of all the people in real life that I know, who has charisma to be a leading man? And it was Lewis, right? And that's why because I had a relationship with Lewis, okay? And he's friends with me, he was friends with you, he's friends with Jen, he's friends with Joe the empty chair, right? And I thought he would do it. I did not think he would like screw us, just like your LeBron James analogy. Oh, LeBron James is from here. He would never screw us. He loves us. This is home, right? So if I could do it and have money and pay people to do it, I would pay Lewis because there's nobody that I know who could fill that. Now, if, say, we got a friend of a friend, and say the guy who did the review goes, hey, I know a leading guy who's 28, he's handsome.
Now, would you pay Lewis more than the rest of us, or?
Oh, no. That ship has sailed. Lewis is now, he will be getting scale or whatever. So, but yes. So, number one, he is absolutely right. And you read the script. I cut a lot of it out. And you remember by the second week that I was shooting, I was cutting parts out of the script. You remember that? Because you were like, hey, when are we going to film this part outside? When are we going to do this? I'm like, oh, we got to get the equipment back. People aren't showing up. I don't mean to pick on my sister because she helped, but she missed a day of shooting because her dog had a diabetic flare-up. And it's hard to do a movie shoot with no producer, right? Well, she was the cameraman, right? Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2. The fading in and out was a little disruptive to the storyline. Although I liked the technique, I think it was played out too much. It broke up the story too much.
Okay, that's a technical thing.
Right.
And
that's something that you really had no control over. You were limited.
Right. Because
that wasn't really your choice to do that. That's the best way you found to.
Right. And he's exactly right because my wife watched it and she said the fading in and out was annoying. And the technical attribute of it, this is my first movie and I only had X amount of footage and I tried to splice it together and like I said, it was sloppy. So that is true. And I totally accept that. That's got to be better.
Now, when he says, I think it was played out too much, what does he mean
I
by
think
that?
by the end it was the same, the fade in, fade out.
Okay.
When you're doing the editing, yeah, I get it. There wasn't continuity. I had to make cuts in there because...
So he's saying it would have been okay in a more limited dose?
Right. But basically I played that...
Because he says he likes the technique, but it was played out too much. Okay.
Yeah, I basically had to use it throughout the whole movie. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead. But that's fair. That's more than fair. Okay, go ahead.
Now, number 3. This is my favorite one.
Oh, no.
I think the acting needed to be polished up. Here's my favorite line. It seems like some of the actors were reading from cue cards.
We were all reading from cue cards.
I don't think the emotions came through. Some of the acting was pretty flat.
All yes, that is very true. It's funny because it's true, because I remember Joe, and again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Everybody who did it, everybody who showed up, did it for free. I had to pay people in
You
t-shirts.
get what you pay for.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. I appreciate everybody. I'm not going to say a bad word about anybody. And I'll tell you what, Dan is a natural born actor.
Mm-hmm.
If anything ever happened out of that movie, someone should hire Dan to work, because he read the script, he knew it. You change his lines, he knew it. He was on point. He had a little bit of trouble towards the end because I gummed him up with like 4 paragraphs of monologue, but right up till then he was like bang 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 bang, perfect. And I mean, he has missed his calling. He should be an actor. But again, you can only get out, I didn't get things, I didn't get them paid. I didn't get, we all had cue cards, and we were putting the cue cards behind the camera, you know what I mean? And then trying to move the cue cards so it wouldn't look like people were in the same place. So he is 110% true. Again, by the budget restrictions and everything, I keep going back to Clerks, and, I wish, doing it all over again, I wish I could have paid money, and I wish I had more money to say. I wish I had the 26 grand, but we had 4 grand. And everybody was so kind and so nice. And I'm telling you what, for what it was, that's why I want more money and do a second one. We're going to do it better. And in my head, more practice. The one day Joe came up to me, Joe the empty chair, and he goes, "Are you mad that I didn't read the script last night?" And I'm like, well, that's why we have the cue cards. I can't make Joe read the script. If Joe doesn't read the script, well, there's cue cards. I mean, I can't have an empty body. We already had a cutout in the movie, right? And so we can't have cutouts for all the characters. And again,
We should have had the characters wearing the cue card.
Well, at one point, we had, I don't know if you can see it in the movie or not, but we had to take a piece of paper and put it on another guy's back while he's saying his lines, because he couldn't see the cue card. There was too much. And I remember changing Joe's lines when we're doing the movie, right? We're changing Joe's lines, and he's like, that word is too long. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm rewriting it as I'm doing the cue cards. So that is all fair. And he's nailed it, but I think he's being nice because he's related to Joe.
Yeah.
Not Joe the empty chair, Joe the mutual friend of the thing. But yeah, that's more than fair.
I just like, it seems like some of the actors are reading from cue cards.
Well, the whole thing is that there's a few scenes where there are no cue cards. And if you only watch 30 seconds of the movie, the biggest part of brilliance in that movie that was unscripted, Dan, he walks on the soccer field and he sees a T-shirt from one of the competing teams.
Yeah, I know
He
exactly.
sees
I
it.
know exactly what you're talking about.
He sees it and he steals it. That is, you can't script that. That's gold. I mean, that's like cinema magic. And
That wasn't in the original script?
no.
Well, whose idea was that? Was it yours or?
Well, it was
or
my
his?
idea, but I said, Dan, just walk up and do this, and he's like, oh, okay. And so it was my idea, but if Dan didn't do it, like say I gave it to Jeffrey. Because I appreciate Jeffrey doing it, but Jeffrey wouldn't have caught the magic that Dan did. And no offense to Jeffrey, because he did a good job with what he did. It's just that Dan should be an actor. You know what I mean? We really found gold. And when we do the second one, Dan, we're going to give you more money. Dan, we're going to give you more lines.
So Dan was almost like Tom Hanks in Castaway. He was like in that whole scene by himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've read stories about...
no talking.
Yeah.
He just...
Yeah, the director gives you motivation. You've been stuck on a desert island for 40 days, and you were going to kill yourself, and your best friend is this volleyball.
Yeah.
Go! And that's what I basically did with Dan. A lot of Dan's stuff was just...
And we had a soccer ball. So.
Yeah, if there's a Blasphemers 2, one of the storylines is Spaz. Okay, he's gonna go crazy, and he's gonna be talking to a soccer ball. Okay, that's all there is to it. But it won't be like Castaway. It'll be more like you watch Family Guy.
Yeah.
Stewie, only the dog understands him, right? Well, in Blasphemers 2, Jeffrey will understand the soccer ball. The whole team will be there, but the soccer, he'll be talking to the soccer ball, and they'll be like, "You're an idiot," So, like I said, in my head, we're already there.
So Spaz loses it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Spaz goes crazy. Spaz goes crazy in part 2. So I don't want to give away my own movie, but again, I'm not sure that I'll ever have the money to finance. So, okay. So three positives.
3 positives. Number 1, it really looks like you guys had a lot of fun making the movie. I could tell that everyone seemed to enjoy the process. Because of this, the humor really came forward. The one-liners were great.
Yes, and the one-liners were all, when my sister read it, my sister doesn't like soccer, okay? But she goes, "There's so many one-liners in here." And I said, "Yeah." But like he said with the criticisms, it's hard to set up the one-liners when you're cutting lines out of the script. You're cutting, like I said, literally cutting 40 pages out of the script because you're running out of time and resources. But that's very kind. I appreciate that. So number 2?
Number 2, I like the characters. Each role was played differently, and I feel like they were my friends. I really like watching movies where the characters are each uniquely different and have their own style.
Yeah. And when I did the outline, I told even before I showed you the script, I told you there was 4 different friends playing soccer. One's a womanizer, one's a goody-goody, and then we merged some of it up. Once we started writing, we had to switch some lines around. But yes, that's what you want to think about. These are your friends. We're all friends. We're all playing soccer.
So was I the goody-goody? I was Smith, right?
Kinda, yeah.
Nah, I was just wondering.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you want number 3?
Yeah, number 3.
The dialogue writing was great. I liked the banter between each character.
Yeah. Well, that's very kind because, like I said, I wrote it and then I was rewriting it, and I really appreciate it because when we do the top 10s lists, so far we've done 3 top 10s lists that I've done. So I've been practicing the writing and everything for writing my book, American Suicide, which I wrote, which you said you liked.
Yes.
And you're not just being nice.
No, I really liked it.
And the strength of Blasphemers is supposed to be the writing, because none of us are actors. You know what I mean? And no offense, Ted, but I didn't think you were going to get a Tide commercial off of the Blasphemers movie. I didn't think Cliff was going to get, Cliff is almost a local celebrity, which we'll leave off how he almost is. But everybody did it on the hope that there'd be another one, and at some point they'd get paid in more than T-shirts. You know what I mean? So, and that... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, was that review, was it better or worse than you thought?
It was actually better than I thought.
Okay.
And again, I appreciate the input. And you said he works for what's his title again? Cleveland Film Commission, or?
It doesn't say on here.
Oh, so in theory, Joe could be being nice to us, and it could have been just his cousin?
It just has his name and address.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to make sure I send... Well, since we used it for radio fodder, I'll make sure I send him a thank you note. So don't throw that away like we're going to throw away this. Hey, Neil, how you doing?
Great.
Neil is a native of New York City, and if we don't say "Go Mets," he'll be very angry.
Go Mets.
Oh, some of those are still attached.
Okay. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. Are you looking for me, or are you looking for other people?
Just life in general.
Just so you know, our 2 managers, they are across town in Solon if you're looking for them. They should be back at any time, and they are on the clock. So, yeah, you guys are laughing at me.
So feel free to just do nonsense and get paid for it, in other words?
Oh no, I feel free to move about the cabin.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I punched out at 4, so I'm not working anymore. We're just using the space and we're using the internet connection. But I'm off the clock at 4 o'clock. I'm loud.
No, hot.
It's
Oh, yeah, I
usually
know this.
cold in here.
Do you want me to change it or not?
Oh no, it's fine. If it's hot or cold.
I mean, the last couple times I think you could see your breath in here.
Yeah. So however we do it is fine. That's Neil, our coworker. We love Neil.
What's the subject today?
Our subject is of freedom of speech and how all my internet sites that I tried to do research on for the radio show, they're all blocked.
So much for freedom of speech.
Yeah, and that's the point of my thing today. So, but I want to beat that dead horse again because then I'll get back and then I won't get back. It'll be redundant. So, Neil is eating chocolate and he's watching us. We look like a couple of air traffic controllers around the computer. We're not doing anything important. We're playing
You're
some
not
crap.
snorting coke as you're reading planes right now.
Hey, that's a good idea though. Hey, you got chocolate. We got chocolate. We could get a chocolate sugar buzz. Bye, Neil.
Bye.
Thanks for stopping in. All right. So that made me happy. That's a good review. And like I said, he was very generous.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think if the movie cost $4 million, he would have been more critical.
I left out one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
So will there really be a Blasphemers 2? Good luck with your next project.
I hope there is. But again, if Lewis stars, we got to pay him. And in order for you to do it, in order for Dan to do it, I got to pay people. I can't just have them show up and pay them in T-shirts. So,
Well, I think this is another example of you have to do the job before you get the job.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've been hearing so much about that lately. I just want to... Didn't we hear it again at the meeting yesterday? I just want to beat my head on the wall.
Yeah, probably.
So, since you gave me good news, I'm going to give you good news. Okay, put that aside, but don't shred that, because I got to send that guy a thank you. Because, again, it's very kind.
And I'm sorry that I actually read it before you.
Oh, no, that's
because it was handed to me just like this.
Yeah.
I could have averted my eyes and
Ted,
like I was looking at the sun, or
Ted, I don't mind at all, because like I said, we're all in this together, and like I said, however it gets made, if the second, say somebody comes up and they're like, we like it, but not, we'll give you $50,000, and I'm going to be like, hey Ted, what do you do for $500? And then that, but the thing is that Lewis is not getting more money. Lewis will be like, well, you know what, I'll do it for 40 grand. I'll be like, get out of here, Lewis, you're off. You're out.
Now, would he have gotten more money during the first movie if
I had it, I would have given him the movie because I wrote it with him in mind.
Okay.
You know what I
So
mean?
in the first one, you would have paid him more than us.
Oh yeah.
But this one, you won't.
Yeah. No. He's now back to scale.
Make sure he knows that. Make sure that
Make sure that he knows.
he blew it.
Well, yeah, but you never know. If he ever listened to this, I don't think he would. But say he listened to this, he'd be like, well, screw you, Fred. He goes, I never liked you anyhow. I always thought you were a big dork. And then I would be very sad. Because, he's popular. You know what I mean? And I don't know about you, but I'm just not. Okay? Hanging out with Lewis is like hanging out with a popular kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, anyhow, this is good news. It was on CNN today. And usually I go to entertainment, but this is specifically for you, and you can tell me if you care or not. Okay? Right here, it was on the front page of CNN.com. I didn't even have to look. Phil Collins announces end of retirement. And, excuse me, you know that...
I didn't know that he was retired.
Ted is our classic rock guru. If I ever have any classic rock questions, I always go to him. Yes, 4 years ago in 2011, he retired because he wanted to spend time with his kids. He was 60 years...
His kids, like 40?
Well, yeah, no, that's the whole thing. He's 60 years old, right? And his kids were like 4 and 5, right? Well, of course, not his first family,
Yeah.
his second or I don't have it in front of me. His second or third family.
He's a family's man.
Yeah, yeah. So his other kids that he didn't care about, they're 35 or 40, right? And there's something else I shouldn't say. I'm sure he cared about them.
Yeah.
Okay, but he was on tour. He was busy with Genesis, and then Oh, I'm sorry. He was busy with first Genesis and then second Genesis. I always think that it was two bands, but it was the same band
Mm-hmm.
because there's Peter Gabriel Genesis and then Phil Collins led Genesis.
Mm-hmm. Now,
So,
do you have a preference, or do you not care for either one of them?
um,
Which Genesis do you like better?
the original Genesis, I can name 0 songs, and the second Genesis, I did not really like. They had what 20 top 40 hits.
Too commercial.
Yeah, too commercial.
Yeah.
I would by the time they were hitting the radio, I was not into, top 40 rock.
Yeah.
But they had some good songs. That song "Illegal Alien." You couldn't make that song today, but it's flipping awesome, catchy as hell, right? And it's no fun being an illegal alien. I mean, how's that not catchy as hell?
Maybe Donald Trump can use it for his.
But that would be so awesome. He comes out, he's playing.
When he gets the nomination.
And instead of Fred singing it on his webcast, Fred who, barely makes over the poverty scale for a family of 4, right? Instead of Fred joking around on his webcast, it'd be funny to have Donald Trump and $1 billion worth of Donald Trump singing that Genesis song on the campaign trail. That would be hilarious. So, but
Yeah, because I mean, from what he says, if he does become president, that it will be no fun.
Oh yeah, no, it'll be no fun being an illegal alien. That's right. But in 2011, I wrote a mean article about Genesis because they went on tour and they were charging like $200 a ticket. And then Rolling Stone came out with an article that's
What year was that?
2011. And then Phil Collins was forgetting some of the words to his own songs that he wrote. And then his thing
See, I didn't even know about that. They did a tour in 2011.
It was like
you said?
2010, 2011.
Now it was Peter Gabriel was not there.
No,
right?
no.
It was-
Peter Gabriel's long gone.
Okay,
long gone.
it was the newer.
Yeah,
Genesis.
Rutherford, Hayes.
And every one of them were Rutherford.
Yeah.
Rutherford B. Hayes.
Yeah, and whoever it was, Phil Collins was forgetting the lyrics to his own songs that he wrote, and his argument was, I have a bad back, I have to take and I don't need this aggravation from you guys telling me I'm singing and he retired. And so for 4 years, he said he's been retired. Well, here, again, at CNN today, it says the 64-year-old pop star is recovering from major back surgery from all those years of beating the drums, so don't hold your breath for any major long-term
I hate
tour.
to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you know what's funny about that is that, do you remember Rick Perry
Yeah.
running for president in, 2008?
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say 2012.
No, 2012.
Yeah.
Remember when he couldn't remember he said the 3 things that he was going to do?
Yeah.
Or,
The 3 things he was going to do, and then he forgot one of the 3 things.
and you know what he blamed it on?
No.
He had recently had back surgery. And I think he might have been on medication.
On the pain meds.
So there you go. Him and Phil Collins have something in common.
Too bad we can't vote for Rick Perry this week. He dropped out of the presidential race. Well, thanks, Ted. Thanks for bringing the room down. Ted, I'm shaking good news at you. Good news. He's back, but he's not back with Genesis, okay? Blah, blah, blah. He was raising his 2 sons. What about a Genesis reunion? He says, don't get ahead of yourself. Let's start with the solo parts first. I love those guys. I would just do the solo tour first. Let's just do this and then see how it goes. Right? Okay, where's my shred pile? Over here? Again, Genesis was okay, overrated, but not bad. You know what I mean? In the early 70s, late 60s, there are things that I have gone back and rediscovered that I did not appreciate, okay? Early Genesis is not one of those bands. I never had the inkling to go back and relearn early Genesis. So...
Now, one song, and I don't know if this is the title, but The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Okay.
You've heard that
Yeah,
song,
yeah.
right? Do you like that song?
It's all right. But I mean, if I heard it, it depends on your mood. If you're in a good mood, who wants to, sometimes you're in a good mood and you don't want to hear Genesis, but sometimes you're in a bad mood and you want to play air drums and you want to sing In the Air Tonight. You know what I mean? And it depends on you more than it depends on Genesis. It's not really fair to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now we're talking about music, and do you want to hear the song of the day?
Yeah.
Because it kind of ties in with that. The song of the day is Enema by Tool. It is a very old song. It's from 1992 or 1993. Again, I didn't write it down. I just know song of the day. And the only reason I bring it up, and the only reason it's a song of the day, is like Phil Collins, okay, Maynard, James Keenan, whatever his name is, lead singer at Tool, they haven't released a Tool album in 9 years, okay? Well, I could go on for 20 minutes why they haven't released an album. But he's out today promoting his side project, Pussifer, okay? And people keep asking him about Tool because they don't care about Pussifer. Well, he's promoting Pussifer. He wants to talk about Pussifer. He wants to talk about selling wine in his winery, right? He's like, I want to talk about Tool. I want to talk about Tool. I want to talk about Tool. Well, guess what? That's how you made all your money. That's why everybody asks you about it. Everybody loves Tool. You know how many people love Pussifer? Me and 4 meth addicts in Kansas. Okay? You can't make money off of me like in your band. Okay? You don't get anywhere in life. So everybody knows Enema by Tool. You know it. By the look on your face, you're like thinking, I know Tool, but I don't know that song.
Right.
If you heard the song, you would know it. And he doesn't seem to have any like, I guess earlier this week, he's like, Tool fans need to calm down. And I'm like, it's unreasonable for any band that stays together to have 10 years between an album. Okay? Well, he's been staying busy. He's been doing Perfect Circle. Perfect Circle's horrible. I hated Perfect Circle. He's been doing his winery. He's been making wine on the side, right? Well, I don't drink wine. Okay? Pussifer I like, okay? So I downloaded some of their stuff and I kind of like their vibe. They're a lighter vibe than Tool, but not lame like Perfect Circle. Oh, you're nodding your head like you have a question.
No, I always think it's interesting when somebody lectures their fans.
Well, that's the whole thing, and that's why I picked Enema by Tool. The whole song is about I just want to flush everything away, clear it out. We'll start all over, and it's a nice sentiment when you're in a horrible mood. If you are in a crappy mood, you put on Enema in your car, and you're going to be in a better mood so fast. You'll be singing it. I'm praying for rain. I'm praying for tidal waves. And that's the way it should be. You love the song, but again, like you said, you can't. I listen to a lot of sports talk, and you can't win a fight against the fans if you're an athlete, right? Well, it's the same thing with a musician. Oh, don't ask about Tool. Well, that's all anybody cares about. You can't win that argument. You can be, a little softer with your PR. Or if you're gonna promote Pussifer, send out the guitarist. Don't go out and do it yourself. If you don't want to answer Tool questions, you cannot do me. I know he's proud of his work that he does, and like I said, I like it. Okay, but I am in Ted. How many times have I named off a band or a song, and you just look at me like you don't know if I'm trying to trick you or not?
Yeah.
Which is where we're going.
Which is most of the time.
He's got a magazine in his hand. We're going to talk about this later. It's New Noise magazine, and I was reading it, and I really like it, okay? But you're familiar, on the cover of New Noise magazine is Slayer. You're familiar with Slayer. You know of Slayer.
Yeah, I've heard.
If I opened up this
magazine.
magazine.
This is Slayer?
Yeah. If you opened up the magazine, there's 25 newer bands coming out with new music. They're not all new bands, but newer bands. If I named you off 25 of the bands, you would not know any of them. Okay, but you know Slayer. Well, that's how they sell their magazines, is they put Slayer on the front, because you never heard of, like, the band that I like in here is The Shining. Okay, and I guess there's a Shining from Norway and a Shining from what's the other country right next to Norway? Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah, so there's a Shining in Norway and a Shining in Sweden. Well, one of them's horrible and one of them's awesome. I think the one that I like is the Shining from Norway. They came out with Black Jazz a couple of years ago, and that's the prediction I'm gonna make when we do predictions.
So there's two Shinings.
Yeah,
One of them's from Norway and the other's from Sweden.
yeah, yeah. But don't buy. I think it's the one from Sweden. They suck.
Okay.
The band, the Shining from Norway, they're awesome. They play black metal mixed with jazz. That's why it's black jazz. Okay. And now Ted's looking at me
Now,
like,
will there be? Because Finland is the third country.
yeah. I don't think either. I think there are no bands from Finland.
Okay.
And but the point of my story is all these new bands, none of them are on the cover because nobody ever heard of them. Because you need help selling magazines these days. And I don't blame them for putting Slayer on the cover. You got to sell what you got to sell. If one of those, I would have bought it if The Shining was on the cover. But some of the other bands, I wouldn't have bought the magazine.
Is Slayer in this magazine
Oh yeah,
at all?
yeah. There's an article because they got a new album. It's their first album without their guitarist. I don't know, Rob Henneman. That's not right. His name's Henneman, but my wife has a friend named Rob Henneman, and I know he's not in Slayer. But Rob Henneman, my wife's friend, who's not in Slayer, he has a friend who's in, oh jeez, what's that metal band from Cleveland? Not Mushroomhead. I want to say Chlamydia. It's not Chlamydia. Cholera. It's not cholera. Oh, now that's gonna bother me. Metal band from Cleveland, very popular. Not Chlamydia. Oh well, it'll come. You know, it'll come to me at 3 in the morning. I'll wake up. I shouldn't make fun of Phil Collins
What's that illness that babies get? Is that colic?
Colic. It's not colic. You know what? I haven't been doing this, but we're gonna do this real quick. Let me look up Safari and metal band from Cleveland. It'll say Mushroomhead because I love Mushroomhead. Metal band from Cleveland, Ohio. Metal band from Cleveland. Let's see if Mushroomhead comes up. Top metal bands from not 90s. Support local artists. What are the top artists from Cleveland? Blah blah blah. This is going way too slow. This should be going fast. 9 Inch Nail. Yeah, I know. Bones, Suggs, and Harmony. Chimera.
Oh, okay.
Rob's friend is in Chimera, and I think they kicked him out. So that's the number 6 band all time from Cleveland, Ohio, according to Ranker magazine.
Tracy Chapman.
Oh no, that's just wrong. Okay, number 1, 9 Inch Nails, I agree with. Tracy Chapman, that's wrong. Joe Walsh, I would agree with that. I told you before I like Joe Walsh. Bone Thugs and Harmony, that's a different thing. Dead Boys. Mushroomhead, see, number 10.
Yeah.
I told you, everybody loves Mushroomhead. Mushroomhead's awesome. Mark Cohn.
Mark Cohn.
Yeah, you know Mark Cohn?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's horrible. Don't tell me you like him or else you're kicked off the show. It'll be the Fred show. The Fred and Ted show will cease to exist. So.
I think he's married to Elizabeth Vargas.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
See, now we're just playing word association. We are so off topic.
Trivial Pursuit on the radio.
Yeah, yay. Hey, you know what? That's really awesome for ratings. Okay, let me go back because I still got a pile of stuff. I hardly went through anything. Let's do predictions. Can we do predictions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we'll come back around to sports. Predictions. Okay, last week I made a prediction. Paranormal Activity 6 would make less than $4 million. And I said, why was it made? I said, why in the hell are there 6 Paranormal Activities? And then we also talked about some other rigmarole about it's going straight to video in 17 days, which is amazing that it could come out and 17 days later go straight to video. Now, Ted, my question to you, I made this prediction 7 days ago. Was I right? Paranormal Activity 6 made less than $4 million.
I would say yes.
You and me are both way wrong.
Wow.
I could not believe this. I researched it today when I was looking up our stuff. Paranormal Activity made $8 million at the box office, over twice what I thought it would,
In one weekend?
in one weekend.
Wow.
And it made $18 million in Asia and Europe. So it made $26 million in one weekend. That doesn't include Netflix, that doesn't include on demand, doesn't include anything. And now I have my answer. Number one, I was wrong. You don't have to go on a limb because, it was my prediction. So I was wrong, and it explains why they made 6 of them. Now, they keep swearing that this is the last one. They're billing it as Paranormal Activity 6. How many times did they say no more Friday the 13th?
How many were there?
There were 10.
Friday the 13th.
Yes, and then I think, now don't quote me on it, but I think they made Freddy and Jason, Freddy and Jason, and then I think there's another, like Freddy and Jason
I thought
2.
you were going to do your own version of The Exorcist over there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's from all that talking I do. I took a sip of water. But yeah, I'm like, how in the world? Now, again, you could always have a spin-off, but if there's no, like we talked about last week, if there's no characters in the market, how do you spin off Paranormal? I mean, do you do something else? Do you say, oh, well, we lied and here's Paranormal Activity 7? I was stunned.
Now, you've seen none of them, right?
I think I saw half of, like, the second one or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or if I saw, I haven't seen a whole Paranormal Activity. So again, a few minutes here or there.
Now,
All right, I'm putting.
Now, did it affect you, or?
I think it was past. I think it was past the time of where I could watch horror movies. So that one didn't affect me, but I didn't stick with it the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity. Oh, there's baby powder on the floor. Okay, what's this? Oh, I don't think I'm going to do this prediction. Maybe I will. We have a coworker, and we already talked about work too much. Okay, we have a coworker on jury duty on Friday. My prediction is there will be no jury duty on Friday, but he will not. But he will not come to work, and he will try and get paid for jury duty, even though there is no jury duty. That's my 1 week prediction. I don't know if I want to stand by that or not. But that's between me and you. And since nobody's listening yet, it don't matter. So my prediction is he does not come in on Friday, but then he asks for jury duty pay. Okay? What's my next prediction? Oh! Every once in a while I still listen to Trip Show. Yeah, I know, that's my mistake. I'm so stupid. I feel so dirty when I listen to it, because that show is horrible. Okay, because at this point in the afternoons, the number one show I listen to is 92.3 The Fan. And then second option is Alan Cox Show. And then third option is Triv. And then fourth option is KNR, because they literally have an intern with an afternoon show. I won't even say his name. He's so horrible. Okay? But I was listening to Trevisano this week, and he said he knows how to fix the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, okay.
Ted Coley, how do you fix the Cleveland Browns?
Get a new owner.
Well, that was one of his suggestions.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah. We don't need somebody from Tennessee, blah, blah, blah. He's still mad that they lost rights to the other stations down the dial. He can suck it. Triv is wrong. Okay, but he said all the owner has to do is hire a guy named Nick Cesario. That's the exact quote of Trevisano is, that's the guy you want. Okay? Hire Nick Cesario, Brown's problems are solved. Now, you like football. I like football. Do you know who Nick Cesario is?
No.
I don't know who Nick Cesario is either. Now, why would he solve all the Browns' problems? What is on his resume that some guy we never heard of?
It's probably like Triv's son-in-law or something.
Well, you know what? At first, I thought it was, because I'm like, Trevisano,
Yeah.
Cesario. Oh, it's my cousin. Oh, yeah. You want your cousin to run the Browns. How be it? He is one of Bill Belichick's special. He's like the assistant general manager. And he's a young guy, and he's from Northeast Ohio, and he would do a great job. Okay? Now, Do you remember Scott Pioli? He was the general manager in New England,
Yeah.
and he went and he basically bombed out in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And why did they hire him? Because Bill Belichick's a genius.
Yeah.
Okay. Romeo Crennel. Do you remember when he was at Cleveland?
Yeah.
Did he do a very good job?
No.
No. Oh, we got to hire Romeo Crennel because he's Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator. They said we should hire Charlie Weiss. Why should we have hired Charlie Weiss when we interviewed him? Because he was Bill Belichick's offensive coordinator. Now, when we hired...
Well, I mean, this is such an idiotic argument because we had Bill Belichick here.
Yeah, we had him here and we fired him. And it's like, and on top of it, we wanted to hire Josh McDaniel. When Josh McDaniel got fired from the Broncos, we wanted to hire him away from New England when he went back to New England to be the offensive coordinator. And I don't remember, maybe you remember, was it that we couldn't get permission to interview him or he declined our offer to interview Josh McDaniel? Do you remember which way that went?
I don't remember, but we were basically trying to get him before we got Pettin, right?
Right. So, all these people from the like you said, we had Belichick.
Yeah.
We have all these guys. All these guys are failures, right? None of them went on and outshined or was equal to Belichick. Why are we still trying to get, we'll just take some of Bill Belichick's magic fairy dust and we'll sprinkle it on this guy and they'll be the winning coach for us. And that shows how old and dumb Trevisano is. We'll just grab one of those Belichick guys. They grow on trees.
That's like saying, why don't we get Bill Belichick's car and just give it to Mike Pettin?
Yeah. Oh, well, you know what? We'll give him his headsets and his headphones. And I am so tired of taking Bill Belichick's retreads. Now, Nick Cesario, maybe he is good. Okay? Maybe he is worth watching, and maybe he will do a good job. Okay? But I don't want to hear, A, he's from Northeast Ohio. That means nothing. And number two, he worked with Bill Belichick. That again means nothing.
We're from Northeast Ohio and we're talking to nobody.
Yeah. What? You know what? How about this? Dave, who works with us, he was in the movie. Dave did a great job. He was our gambling guy. Okay. Dave is like on 4 fantasy football leagues. I would argue that Dave knows more football than Nick Cesario does. Okay. Nick Cesario knows whatever Bill Belichick told him.
Now, just out of curiosity, did Triv mention anything about Kosar?
Oh, he said that Kosar would be good, but you know how it is. No, I don't know how it is. Why don't they hire Kosar? Well, you know, Kosar's busy. Kosar's this. I think it would be a great idea, but apparently there's something going. There's some sort of Jimmy Haslam Kosar rift that I've heard about on multiple stations that the media knows about, but they don't want to talk about. So I don't know if he's an experimental treatment. I don't know if he really is a drunk. I don't think he is, okay? I don't know if he made him mad. He's mad because they fired him and he won't work with him. I don't know what the point of the story is, okay? But the point of the story is there's a rift that they know about and they lord it over us. Like, we have a secret and you don't know. You know what I mean?
We're used to that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the story of work. And that's why we're doing the webcast, so we can work somewhere else. But the point of my story is so we're talking about the Browns. I don't want to dwell on that. I just wanted to, one of the things I wanted to do is when I hear stuff that is patently 100% wrong, I want to write it down, and so we'll see in 5 years. I put 5-year date on this, and we'll see if Triv is right. In 5 years, if Nick Cesario is the smartest guy in the whole NFL. And I guarantee you that he's not. And then he'll be like, I just told you to put that in a nugget and save that nugget in your brain. I didn't tell you that. Oh, yeah, that's not what you said. Because a lot of the on-air guys are like that. They're like, remember what I said. Well, if you say left and right, and then you go right, and you're like, oh, well, I said right. No, you said left or right were your 2 options. You never, you said it on different days.
Well, who was it? I think it was Butch Davis. Butch Davis, did he come from the Dallas Cowboys organization?
Yes.
I remember right before we got him, Triv was like, "Oh, this is going to be great."
Yeah.
You know, he comes from a great organization. You know, they had 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we can start planning parades.
I think the problem is Cleveland. I think when you come here, it's like you lose half your brain.
Well, just so you know, you could be right. I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that we have not been blessed when it comes to winning teams. Well, but do you mind if we talk about our teams,
No.
our adopted teams? Swansea City, they're still in the middle of the pack. We're gonna loop back to them, okay? Because I want to talk about them. But they're in the middle of the pack. I haven't checked up on the Russian scores. That's my fault because I didn't follow up on it. Columbus, they won a couple of games this week. They're 2-8.
Ooh.
Okay, but the big news is they do not have the worst record in the league.
Nice.
Yay! They are tied for the worst record in the league with 4 other teams. So hey, you gotta crawl before you can walk, right? So it's the beginning of basketball season. The Cavs home openers this weekend. The Cavs just started this week. I am not adopting the Cavs, but I do want to talk about them. My uncle, who I love very much, Uncle Gene, who probably is not going to be listening, but I'll throw him under the bus also. When I went to go to a funeral, we went to a funeral this summer and I saw Uncle Gene. I made a comment about, the Cavs are going to be good this year. And Uncle Gene said, da-da-da-da-da. So, you guys in Cleveland are finally buying yourself a championship. And it made me so mad because even though Uncle Gene is awesome, he's a great guy, okay?
Now, is Uncle Gene from this area?
No, Uncle Gene's, that's from the Detroit funeral.
Okay.
So,
Because I was going to say, you guys, it's like...
yeah, Uncle Gene, friendly Cleveland-Detroit rivalry, okay? Now, I told you in the past I love Detroit Red Wings, okay? But if I remember, when they won their Stanley Cups, they had the highest, it was before revenue sharing, and Detroit, if they didn't have the highest payroll, they had the top 3 payroll for each one of their championships in the 90s. I didn't go around saying, we bought a championship. I said, yay, Red Wings. It's the team I grew up with. And Detroit is, it's not the same as it was in the 90s, but they had more money than they had now. So when he comes in, and I guess the Cleveland Cavs of 2015, 2016, they're going to have the second highest payroll in the history of the NBA. I guess the New Jersey Nets, not the Brooklyn Nets, but the New Jersey Nets from about 5 years ago had the highest. This year the Cavs are having the second highest. Well, guess what? We never have the highest payroll, okay? So the one time we have the highest payroll, oh, you're buying yourself a championship. I don't want to hear it. We literally have, in baseball, arguably in the bottom 5 in payroll in the last 20 years. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, probably.
Since 1998, when I think we spend less money now than we did in 98 for baseball. And at the beginning of the year, the Browns were $40 million under the cap. Okay? So I don't want to hear about how we're buying ourselves a championship. Okay, the whole reason LeBron came back to Cleveland, let me be very clear here, okay? LeBron James did not come back to Cleveland because he didn't like Miami. It was because their owner in Miami, Mickey Arison or whatever his name was, he was starting to cut corners once they started to win championships because he did not want to spend himself into oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to win championships and make money, right? And LeBron is like, holy cow, I got this guy in Dan Gilbert. I don't like him. I like Dan Gilbert, but I guarantee you, LeBron James, if he was sitting here instead of Joe the empty chair, he would say he does not like Dan Gilbert. But Dan Gilbert owns a casino, and he is flush with money, and if I tell him to spend into oblivion, Dan Gilbert will spend into oblivion.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, whether that's the right or wrong decision, that's between LeBron and Dan Gilbert and, their people. Okay? But I don't want to hear how they bought themselves a championship. Well, did the Heat buy themselves a championship when they all colluded and went down there and broke NBA rules?
Mhm.
When Pat Riley talked to them, when the Red Wings won their championships in the '90s, did they buy their championships? No. The Yankees tried to buy championships. They have double the thing, and they still can't do it. So I don't want to hear it. We're buying a championship in Cleveland. I'm sorry, you're nodding your head, but you look like you.
No, I like I said, I was just a little bit confused because I didn't know that he was from Detroit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, but he's awesome. Like I say, he's a great guy. I didn't argue with him because what am I going to say? I don't have the facts. But then I looked it up. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hear it.
So he was serious. I mean, he wasn't just like joking around. Like
He sounded serious.
Yeah.
Like that's if we win, that would somehow taint it.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. You know what? What taints basketball? The bad boys, the Detroit Pistons bad boys, where they basically broke everybody's legs in order to win the championship. So if we want to talk about tainted championships, we can talk about the Rodman, Isaiah Thomas days. I don't say that crap to him. Why do you have to say that we're buying a championship? And just so you know, there are no tainted championships, okay?
of course not.
Well, no, to me, you either win or you don't win, okay? People, and again, this is America. The table is slanted towards certain people every single year. Just like in baseball, it's slanted towards the Dodgers and the Yankees this year. But you still have to go out and win, okay? But like with the Yankees, instead of winning a championship, your chances are 1-6 instead of 1-30.
Mm-hmm.
Because only 6 teams are spending that money. But it's not a 1-1. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you still have to win. The only tainted championship is, I believe now you're gonna have to help me. Maybe I'm wrong. But the Dallas Stars, they stole a game from the famous foot in the crease game, the famous no goal game, Dallas versus Buffalo in the Stanley Cup.
That I couldn't.
Dallas stole that championship, but they didn't go out and steal it. The NFL gave it to Dallas. You know, I mean the refs and the see, I'm trying to pull it off the top of my head. It's in my book, American Suicide. The refs basically stole
the NHL.
NHL. Dallas stole the championship from Buffalo, but they did not like sneak around and stuff. Basically, they cheated, and then the refs didn't enforce how they cheated, and that's a whole thing. But other than the Dallas Stars, who I will never forgive from moving from Minnesota North Stars to Dallas, that's another reason that they cheated. But other than that, everybody else earned their championships. Other than the Dallas Stars. Ted's nodding. Ted does not care about hockey. Tonight, I'm going to only throw this in here. MLS Cup, we're not adopting any MLS Cup teams. I just want to tell you that I am rooting for Toronto. Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore. They're both on the U.S. national team, and they play for Toronto. I really hope they win today, but we're not adopting them because their season could end tonight. Blah, blah, blah. I would like to adopt the basketball team. And I'll tell you why. I want to adopt the CSU Vikings because that's where I graduated college. So we're going to adopt CSU as our college basketball team.
Okay.
Now, would you like to know the story of why we're adopting them?
Yeah. They're actually pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, for what they are. Yeah, they're mid-major. They're a good program in a mid-major. But we're adopting them, and I was looking at CSU alumni called, and they want money from me to give to them, and I don't have any.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I know. But I do not have any money in my mattress or in my account or anywhere, so I apologize to CSU. So partly because I'm an alumni and I give them no money, I will give them free pub. And secondly, when I was looking up famous alumni, I'm like, there are very few famous people who went to CSU, right? And my dad, I was talking to my dad a few weeks ago, and my dad's a great guy, right? But he seemed upset that one of my childhood friends that he did not like made it into my high school Hall of Fame, right?
Was that Brunswick?
Yeah, yeah. And he seemed upset by it. I'm like, I don't care. You know, he's a good. I liked him. He was my friend, but my dad didn't like him. I said, you know, and he goes, I think it was politics. I'm like, listen, Dad, I really don't keep up with that. If they put him in the Hall of Fame, that's fine. If they don't put him in the Hall of Fame, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I haven't talked to that guy in, 30 years, right? And he goes, yeah, but I don't think he deserved it. I think he might have bought his way. I'm like, Dad, it literally does not matter, okay? I have no interest in being in my high school Hall of Fame, okay? But now that my dad is like upset, I would like to get in my college Hall of Fame, okay? So if my movie Blasphemers the movie, right? Or my webcast, which I hope spins into a radio show, right? I have to be more famous than these four people, okay? And this is why we're adopting the CSU basketball team. I have to be more famous than Gerald Walker. Do you know who Gerald Walker is?
It's Gerald?
Yeah, it's Jearl. Now, I know who he is, but he used to have a show, The Flying Circus of Physics, and he would teach kids physics. But it was all across the United States. I think it was on PBS and some other formats. You know, since the internet came along, I think he might be doing The Flying Circus of Physics. So you are not familiar with Gerald Walker.
No.
Okay, I've already beat one guy. Okay, I'm more famous than Gerald Walker. Okay.
Yeah, you're Elvis compared to him.
Gerald Walker is like the Stephen Hawking of CSU, but he is famous outside of the college. Okay. Number 2 is Manute Bol. You know who Manute Bol is?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Okay, he enrolled at CSU to play for CSU, but because of some shady things that Kevin Mackey, the crack addict, he's not crack addict anymore, but that's why he got fired. Because he was doing shady things, he enrolled at CSU, and then he never played for CSU. Okay, but he's still under famous CSU alumni. So I am not as famous as Manute Bol. I got a long ways to go to be more famous than Manute Bol. Now, Tim Russert used to be moderator for Meet the Press. Now, I know who Tim Russert is, okay? But like to my daughter, I'm more famous than Tim Russert because she doesn't know the guy who died, 5 or 10 years ago. So as time goes on, I become more and more famous than Tim Russert because he's already passed on. And now he's
he graduated from CSU?
Yeah, I believe he graduated from the CSU Marshall Law School or whatever. But yeah, he is a CSU grad. The law school. I don't think he graduated from like the liberal arts college.
Now, was he from this area?
I don't think so. Well, let me rephrase that. He wasn't from the west side. I think he might have been from like rural east side. Like somewhere in the middle of Geauga County or Ashtabula County or something.
I didn't know that.
But yeah. So Tim Russert graduated from CSU, and the next guy doesn't count. I didn't even write him down. Mayor Jackson, the idiot. That guy graduated from CSU, but knowing him, he probably knew somebody and bought his degree, so he doesn't count. And it doesn't matter if I'm more famous than him because that guy, I can't prove it allegedly, but that guy is a crook. Okay, if I went to the local Circle K and I pointed a gun at the clerk and stole all their magazines, cigarettes, and money, I would be the equivalent of Frank Jackson. And that's what I think of that guy. Okay,
Remember, Fred Hunt said that.
Yeah, Fred Hunt. The disclaimer is Fred Hunt said that, not Ted Coley. So I think my goal is to be more famous than Tim Russert. I think that would make my dad happy. So, but I don't know. Maybe he never liked Tim Russert either. I don't know how his politics were with Meet the Press. So anyhow, so that is my famous alumni. So we're adopting the CSU Vikings. Every year they're always like 20-10, and they're always on the border. Ever since their coach Gary Waters got here, they're about 20-10. They're always on the border of getting in the NCAA tournament. They always get one guy controversial leaves, one guy comes, and it's the same. But again, I'm a proud alumni, so we're repping CSU basketball this year. That's our adoptive team. So now we have a Russian hockey team, a American hockey team, uh, English Premier League team, and CSU basketball. So we got 4 sports teams. Now I want to go back to Swansea City. Okay, now Swansea City we don't know anything about, right? And again, because this is Beacon of Speech, we're gonna kind of dance around something without trying to talk about it. This came out just a couple of days ago. Um, British bookmakers offer odds on which English soccer player will come out as gay this week. And then they put it on their betting site. So it's basically like going to the Luxor and betting on who's going to come out. The rumor is somebody who plays on the English national team, who also plays in the English Premier League, okay, is going to announce that they're gay. Well, apparently nobody has ever done it, or nobody's ever admitted it while they played. Like afterwards they've announced it, but not while they're in the EPL. And apparently there's been a lot of, I guess the English fans, the outstanding citizens that they are, they tend to chant homophobic slurs at their players. And not at their players, at the opposing players. And so, to be honest with you, since Swansea City is one of our teams, but they're in Wales, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to look and see who these players are to see if that's going to affect our season. Okay? And just out of morbid curiosity. Well, I read the article. It was like on Daily Beast, Huffington Post. Where did I get this from? I got this one from USA Today, right? So I read the article, and they were saying how horrible it was that you could bet on this. Well, English Premier League, it's just like the NFL here. You could bet on almost anything. You know all those prop bets, who's going to win the coin flip in the Super Bowl, national anthem. Well, that's just how they are. They're insane about soccer in England. So I looked in all these articles, and none of them actually said what the odds were. Well, we're not going to say their names because we're not going to out people who aren't outed or shouldn't be outed. But I looked it up, and I got the impression after looking at the list, right, here's the list of the top 5 guys. I'm showing Ted right now. This is the name, this is the team they play for, and this is the odds. As you can see, the number 1 guy, that's a very famous team, and the odds of him being gay are 9-1. Right? So if you put down $100, you win $900 if that guy comes out and says he's gay. Right? Well, the list starts, and it's got like 20 people, and it starts at 9-1, and today is October 29th. October 29th, and then it goes down to like 75-1. And I think what they did is they took everybody who played on the English team in the last 5 years, who still plays in the English Premier League, and they're trying to guess who it is. Well, you're trying to guess a rumor that may or may not be true. You see what I'm saying? So all these people, my understanding is people are starting to have press conferences and say they're not gay. And as I'm looking, it's nobody at the bottom, right? It's all teams that you've heard of at the top of the EPL, because it's not about being gay. It's almost like trying to slander the guy on the other team so it distracts them from the game that you play in 2 weeks. But I wrote down all the guys that were either 11-1 or better, and the top 5 guys. And with the exception of these 4 are all from famous teams. You know what I mean? Teams that you've heard of, and it's like it's all about betting. It's almost not about being gay. You know what I mean? But I thought, again,
it's possible that it's none of those 5.
And it's possible it's none of them, because there's 20 of them. I didn't write down all 20 of them because...
And it's also possible that nobody will come out and say.
Right. So you could say the bet is who will come out and say they're gay by the end of the year. Well, at the end of the year, what happens if nobody says they're gay? Well, the casino And again, it's an online casino. English rules are different than American rules. Not better, they're just different. And so at the end of the year, they could say, well, we just took that money, nobody announced. We keep the money, house wins. And again, what did I just say 10 minutes ago? Everything is slanted one way or the other. Who's to say they didn't start the rumor, and then they slanted it towards them to move money onto the bet, and then they don't have to pay the prop bet because nobody's getting it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's to say it's not a PR grab or a cash grab? And, you know, say you're, again, I told you I like Manchester United. Well, say you're like, oh, I never liked that guy in the other team. Well, I'm going to bet $100 or £100 that it's this guy on Chelsea. This guy on Chelsea has to be. Well, at the end of the day, it's a moneymaker, and it straddles the border between evil and pure evil. You know what I mean? But we're kind of dancing around it because, you know, we're kind of feeling our way out. And that's why we're not naming any of the names. But personally, I think this guy, and I'm pointing out to Ted, I only think this guy is on the list because of his last name. Right? So, Ted, I showed Ted what the guy's name was. And that's why that guy's on the list.
That's his actual name?
Yeah. And so, well, that's why I was laughing. Well, I'm reading this, and I'm like, well, that's funny. I know that guy was, but you know, again, you're straddling a fine line between giving them publicity, and that's why I didn't name the site, but you can find it. You can go online and say, oh, you know, English online betting for outing gay players or whatever.
Well, you probably couldn't do it here, though, right?
Well, that's the thing. When I looked at the site, there was a red button in the corner. Maybe it was green. I can't remember if it was a red background and green button or green background, red button. But it says place your bet. And well, I didn't hit that button. I just wanted to see the odds so we could talk about it. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, I don't know. It seems so dark and dirty because I feel so bad because at first I'm like, that's horrible, that's bad. And I'm like, there's so much bad intentions with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's no good intentions. But then part of me is like, I want to make sure that nobody on Swansea's on our list because I don't want our season to get tanked. So I'm like, apparently I'm as bad as the unwashed masses. So we're going to shred this. Hopefully we never talk about that again. I'm putting that down. We can shred Phil Collins. I'm going to save this till next week, okay? Because we're close to our time. I'll tell you about that later. I have one top 10 list, okay? And then I wanted to talk about one more prediction, and then we are done. I was on RollingStone.com, and they had top 10 horror movie sequels of all time.
Oh,
and
okay.
And number one should be Evil Dead 2. Okay, just no brainer. Okay, you could tell me if you've seen any of them. Some of them are old, some of them are new. But that's going to be
these are good, right? They're
yes, top 10 horror movie sequels. They have to be a horror movie. They have to be a sequel. And you tell me if you saw or you liked it. Scream 2 is number 10. Oh, this is our top 10s list for the week, by the way.
I may have seen parts.
I saw Scream 2. I thought it was all right. I thought it was about as good as Scream 1. I mean, it didn't stick out better or worse. It was good. It was what it was. Hey, are you getting a theme? Number 9, Paranormal Activity 3. Well, guess what? Who knows? Number 8 is from our childhood. Do you remember Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed?
Oh, wow. No, I don't.
Do you remember that sequel from 1969? I do not. I don't remember seeing that on Superhost. I don't remember seeing it on Svengoolie. I don't remember seeing it on Big Chuck and Little John. I don't remember seeing it when I was watching horror movies every other night when I was 17 years old. I don't know how I missed it. And it says starring Peter Cushing. And I'm like, yeah, the guy from Star Wars. How in the hell did I miss Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed? And somehow it's one of the 10 best sequels of all time. Number 7, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Full disclaimer: I used to love Elm Street. Elm Street 1 was great. Elm Street 2 was great. Elm Street 3 was great. I would agree that Elm Street 3 was a good sequel. I don't know about 10 best all time, but I liked it. By the time they got to Elm Street 5, I was such a dumb kid. I was like, I still kind of like Elm Street. I knew it wasn't as good as the first or the third one, but I can't argue that. Halloween 2 is number 6. I'm not a big fan of Halloween 2. Do you like the Halloween series at all?
Well, I know that they're running a lot of these movies on
I'm
AMC
sorry.
right now.
Yeah, Halloween 2, and not the remake Halloween 2, because I think there's a remake of Halloween 2. Halloween 2 from 1981. I don't remember that standing out from other Halloweens. I remember it was forgettable. 28 weeks later. 28 Weeks Later is the sequel to 28 Days Later, 2007.
Wow, I've never even heard of that.
28 Days Later is arguably one of the scariest movies I ever saw. It was a zombie movie. And basically, we saw it when right before my daughter was going to be born. And we tried to scare the kid. My wife didn't want to be pregnant anymore. Kid's like, she's like 8.5 months pregnant, right? She tried to scare the kid out of her. She heard if you saw a horror movie.
Yeah.
And so we saw 28 Days Later. It scared the crap out of me. I think it scared the crap out of her, but you'd have to ask her. One day we'll have her in, and we'll have her talk. And but 28 Days Later, that was a good sequel. So at number 5, that's fine. I have no problems with 28 Weeks Later in 2007. 4 is Aliens, 1986. I would agree with that. Aliens was awesome. Aliens was better. Aliens 3, good. And then they get to Aliens 4 and they kind of fell off the rails.
Yeah, but I think I actually saw that one when it came out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the first paragraph. You would argue that Aliens is scarier than its predecessor. Yes, all the way around, it was better. But Aliens had like a charm to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or Alien had a charm
Alien.
to it. Aliens was just everything amped up. Everything was better about it. But it lost a little bit of the novelty or the charm of it. And again, my choice, Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, the greatest sequel ever made, let alone a horror sequel. I think it was the greatest sequel ever made. Dead by Dawn 2, Dead by Dawn. Have you seen Evil Dead 2?
I know I saw the first one. I do not think I saw the second one.
It's awesome. I think Evil Dead 2, I mean, I can't argue with it. Oh, here you go, right here. Number 2, 1935's Bride of Frankenstein. Okay, any movie made in 1930, I don't care whether... Let me tell you a story. A couple of weeks ago, me and my wife, they did a movie from like 1910 or 1911. It's where the rocket ship goes to the moon and the rocket ship pokes the eye to the moon. And I don't even remember the name of the movie. And I'm like, there is no movie made now that you can compare to it. It's literally comparing apples and oranges. And you cannot compare Bride of Frankenstein in 1935 to modern day horror. You just can't. So I disagree with number 2. And number 1 is Dawn of the Dead. They call it a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Again, I like Dawn of the Dead.
From?
That's 1978. But I don't even consider that a sequel.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's not a sequel because it's not this, I don't know, you can't have, Wes Craven, okay? He did Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Well, it's like saying Scream was a sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street because they're two different movies. Dawn of the Dead isn't, to me, they're like, well, in my head it was a trilogy. Yeah, it's not a trilogy. It was a different zombie movie that you did. Well, hardcore people would argue, and they said, well, it's Romero's, analogy.
Well, what was the other one? Day of the Dead?
Yeah, Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, and Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And Dawn of the Dead from 1978. Don't get me wrong. It was a good movie. I just wouldn't qualify it as a sequel. You know what I mean? Same director, different movie. I mean, same genre. There's people who their whole lives all they ever do is romantic comedies. And you're like, oh, he did this romantic comedy. He did Bridesmaids, and he did Wedding Crasher, and he did. Oh, they're all the same movie. Or one of those Jackie Collins books. They're all romantic comedies. Well, they're not really sequels. It's not. You know what? For Rolling Stone, they actually didn't do that bad because usually their lists are horrible. So we give them an A for effort, not an A for execution. Oh yeah, this is just more about Paranormal Activity. I still can't get over how much that made. Paranormal Activity 6. I think we got one more prediction. Remember earlier in the episode I was talking about New Noise Magazine?
Yeah.
This is an awesome magazine. I love it. If you get a chance, go buy New Noise Magazine. Okay.
I'll read it in convenient.
You will not read it at all. Well, here's the band that I like, The Shining, right? Okay. Blah blah blah. Norwegian metal magician. See, and then right here, not to be confused with the Swedish black metal band. Yeah. See, because the Swedish band is horrible. But if I named you all these bands, okay. Okay. Let's just take this page. These are the 25 bands to know. Conveyor, Sharp Lads, Mommy Long Legs, Looming, Infinity Girl, Wild Lights, okay? These are some of the best new albums to come out. Have you ever heard any of these?
No.
Are you, even if I told you to go buy one of these albums, would you go buy one of these albums? No. No, but it's a good read and it makes you want. After I read this, I went and I made a list of stuff I'm going to download based on the articles because that's the way, at least I listen to music now. And it's a good read of a magazine. If you like music, I would definitely go check them out. New Noise Magazine. But with all the nice things being said, my prediction is as of today, 10/29/15, date fulfilled 10/30/2017, New Noise Magazine will not exist. And the rationale being that awesome things that don't get like corporate backing at some point, these little indie things, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And basic reason I made the prediction is I like unpopular things. So even though I love this magazine, I've not read a new music magazine this good in a long time. And all I ever do is bust the chops of Rolling Stones. It seems like every episode I bust Rolling Stone magazine chops, right? If you want to read a good magazine, read New Noise Magazine, but my prediction is in 2 years it will not exist anymore. Because I like things that don't exist. Which is more of a reflection on me than... Because like I said, hopefully in 10 years, New Noise, it's got sponsorships, it's rolling into money, they're breaking bands left and right. And I wish them nothing but the best. I hope their editor isn't like, oh, screw them.
Now, do you know when this magazine started?
Yeah, it is only the 20th issue, and it's every month, so it's probably only in its second year. It's only $4. It's a good deal. And part of the reason I bought it, because I'm a sucker, because like I said, I don't care about Slayer one way or the other, but I bought it because I wanted to see 25 new bands I need to know, and there was a free sampler.
No.
And whenever there's a free sampler CD, it's like being in the grocery store. You're walking through and they're like, oh, sir, would you like to try our broccoli with walnuts? I'm like, is it free? Hey, is there a cup of it? I get a free cup broccoli and walnuts? Yeah, give me that cup of broccoli and walnuts. It may suck.
Do they still do that?
Yes, but, and here's the catch. Whenever I see it done, it's always like on Saturday morning or Friday night, right when people or Friday afternoon when people are getting paid. So it's when grocery stores or department stores or whatever, because I saw it at BJ's Wholesale, they do it. It's always at times that you try and avoid. Would you ever go to a grocery store on Saturday morning? No, because you're trying to avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
So they still do free samples when there's a ton of people there. But I like to go to the grocery store when there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you feel the same way. You'd rather go on Tuesday. You know what I mean? When you don't have to deal with the crowds or anything. Well, they're not giving free samples out to the 4 people who show up. So that's my third prediction. But I didn't write down the date on this. Do I still have a pen out? Do you have a pen out?
Yeah, I got one.
Because where's my prediction? 10-30-17. 10-30-17. But you already predicted we won't, or 10-31-17. And you have already said that you don't think that we'll still be doing a show. So I'm writing that down for my own shits and giggles there. We're putting this top 10s list off for next week, but we're tying everything up. Ted, I cannot thank you enough again, because you're here. Joe the Empty Chairs stiffed us yet again. So no thanks to him. But he is invited to be in Blasphemers too if we can get funding. I thank you for doing the experiment in our movie review.
No. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so I thank you for that. Again, I'm going to promote my own stuff. If you want to contact us, we're at beaconofspeech@gmail.com. Read my articles at top10s.net, even though they're not accepting my articles anymore. Watch Blasphemers the Movie at blasphemersthemovie.com. It is free. And read my book, American Suicide. It is the only thing that I've ever done that Ted thinks is actually good. So, Ted, do you want to plug anything?
No. And once again, I have no predictions.
Next week we'll start working on that. You have a good. Thank you for listening.